If you're an undefeated prospect in 2025, I recommend you get some help because things have not been going well for that class of fighter. UFC Des Moines was no different. Two different undefeated prospects got their first loss. Overall, the card was okay. It wasn't spectacular, but it was interesting. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to recap and react to every single fight at UFC Des Moines. But before we talk about the fights, let's talk about the bets. Anytime you get a sketchy fight night, the bets have some highs and lows. The lows are Bet Sam. That kid got absolutely demolished. I was about even. My safety parlay did hit, and my Azamat, Bekoev, and Corey Sandhagen parlay did hit. Those are the two biggest bets I had on the board, and I was actually deciding which one would be the safety parlay. Ultimately, they both could have been because they both hit. Jacob, though, hiding in the shadows. Jacob, who didn't join me on any streams or videos this week, had an unbelievable week. Jacob posted on Instagram, said, hey, I'm not going to be on camera, but I'm going to continue to put picks and bets on the website. And if you went to the website, if you were a premium member, you saw Jacob's picks and bets. Jacob gave you almost 3 units of net profit. Jacob gave you a 50% ROI. Jacob also picked Reinier de Roder. I didn't go as far as picking him, but I said, don't bet on Bo Nickal. But we'll talk about all of those fights. Overall, an interesting fight card. I am proud of that safety parlay. That is 4 of the last 5. Sneakily, it has been accumulating and doing quite well. Safety parlay has been known as the beacon of stability, but anytime you miss one, the world is burning, the sky is falling, and it's the worst bet in history. But 4 of the last 5, it has been going quite well, and in fairness to me, the one that missed was the over on the Ige Woodson fight, and that stoppage was bullshit. We've hit 2 in a row, looking to make it 3 at UFC 315. I actually have a UFC Vegas 106 safety parlay already up. That's 2 weeks from now, but BetOnline let me parlay it. I saw it. It is a plus money safety parlay. So if you want to unlock the UFC 315 safety parlay and the UFC Vegas 106 plus money safety parlay, you can do so now. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It's freaking $10 for everything. Here's all the events that will be included. We're in the unicorn of months where you will get 2 pay-per-views. You'll get UFC 315, 2 fight nights, and then UFC 316 at the tail end of your $10 membership. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. I promise you I'm about to talk about these fights, but the reason I have this thumbnail here is because every Sunday night, live at 9 p.m. Central, myself and former UFC fighter Josh Thompson, the only person to ever knock out Nate Diaz, will be talking about the matchups to make next. So, we just watched UFC Des Moines. On Sunday night at 9 p.m., we will be live on YouTube on this channel talking about the matchups to make next for all the UFC Des Moines fighters. What should Bo Nickal do next? What should RDR do next? What's next for Corey Sandhagen? We're going to do all of those breakdowns, that talking, all of that nonsense. 9 p.m. Sunday night every week. Join us. Let's talk about the fights. We opened up the card with one of the worst female talents we've ever seen. Listen, Juliana Miller is now 4-3. She went into this as 3-3. Ivana Petrovic was a heavy favorite. And I didn't bet on her, and I told you not to bet on her. I even whispered into this microphone in my quick pick video and said, I might do a plus 3.5 on Juliana Miller. And I should have. I didn't. I'm a coward, but I should have because I would have hit. Juliana Miller won this fight outright. I thought that was the correct decision. I also think a correct decision would be cutting both of them. The lack of skills that we saw is unbelievable. Here's the reality, guys. The UFC is supposed to be the pinnacle of this sport. They're supposed to be the greatest fighters on the planet. Do you genuinely believe that Juliana Miller is one of the best 125-pound fighters on the planet? She's not even top 10,000. She's not even top 10,000. The fighting was atrocious. Her skills are awful. The reason she won this fight is because she's enormous. She's just big. She managed to win a couple of these weird scrambles, got a half a takedown here, half a takedown there, 29-28 across the board. I mean, this was a bad fight. Ivana Petrovic didn't do much either. First round, it's like, all right, yeah, Ivana's pretty good. She'll figure this out. And then she just got slothed. She got outbigged. And big-ass Juliana Miller got it done. So we always said Juliana Miller is incredibly tough. She will fight for your money and she'll move forward. That was the narrative coming into this. But I have not seen a skill improvement. I had no bet on this fight whatsoever. So I didn't have a dog. Didn't matter. There's no bias in this breakdown whatsoever. It just is annoying at times to be watching our favorite sport. Supposed to be watching some of the best fist fighters on planet Earth. Certainly at this level. And then you get a fight like this. The fight sucked, A. And there was no skill. You know what? If you get a boring fight, but the skills are there. All right. Just didn't happen to be a fun fight. It is what it is, but the skills were there. Almost like a pitcher's duel in baseball. You get two phenomenal pitchers. There's no hits. Nobody's getting on base. Not much is happening action-wise, but the skills are dialed in. They're making something happen. A similar thing in MMA? Fine, right? Two phenomenal strikers that have good defense and good offense. Not a ton is happening, but there's some action there. Nothing too crazy. Fine. I'm okay with it. But when you get a boring fight and they both suck at it, what are we doing? This is the UFC. It's unbelievable. Then we had Thomas Petersen and DonTale Mayes. This was also not an exciting fight. You'll notice the caption here. Can't defend takedowns. That's for DonTale Mayes. That caption could have been in the previous fight as well for Ivana Petrovic. Can't defend takedowns. If Ivana defended a takedown or two, she probably would have stole that fight. If DonTale Mayes defended a takedown, wouldn't have mattered. He was losing the very little striking exchanges that they had. Thomas Petersen was a guy that we all pretty much picked. I don't think anybody was picking DonTale Mayes. And it all came down to the fact that DonTale Mayes cannot defend takedowns. Again, supposed to be some of the best fighters on the planet. We'll give heavyweights passes every now and then. DonTale Mayes has a bunch of knockouts. But the reality is DonTale Mayes' MMA record is 11-9. He's almost at 500. And he's fighting in the largest promotion on planet Earth. Sharing the cage with some of the best fighters ever. The roster situation in the UFC is nuts. It's nuts. Well, DonTale Mayes, no improvements, can't defend the takedowns. I was pretty impressed with Thomas Petersen. I expected him to get the takedowns. I expected him to win. But I thought it might be like, we'll see. And I told you, I don't normally do the Instagram research deep dives. That's not really my jam. But while posting the pictures and the content to Instagram, and if we have fighters in the pictures, we'll tag them in it, I went to Thomas Petersen's Instagram page, and it's just him at his regular job. It's literally him at his regular-ass union job. And some thoughts started to creep in like, oh my God, this dude's just working his 9 to 5 all day. When is he actually training? But he was training because the wrestling looked great. Striking looked a little better. I don't think we'll ever know how good his striking is or is not because he's always going to come and wrestle. And if he can't take you down, he's going to be like spazzing and out of sorts. I don't know if we'll ever see him come in with a strike-first game plan, so we won't know how good his striking is or is not, but the wrestling was good, and that's all he needed in this matchup. I don't know what's next for him. He's a guy, like, he'll never be top 5, never be top 10, but he is a guy that'll put in some work, move forward, and you give him some matchups to either A, flush out the not ready for the UFC prospects, or B, let's see how much life is left in an aging guy. But good for Thomas. Moved forward, got it done, was grinding. And then we had Gaston Bolanos and Quang Lee. Listen, Quang Lee won this fight. Obviously, he won by finish. Just literally put Gaston Bolanos to sleep. But he also cracked him on the feet a little bit. Gaston did that to himself. But what I will say, before I talk about the fight, everybody that just keeps posting pictures of Gaston with Ilya memes, lame. Be original, man. Be original. You want to try to be funny on Twitter for likes and retweets? Fine, do it. But, be original at it. I saw no fewer than 60 different, pictures of Ilya. And it was like, I can't believe this guy knocked out Volk and then got submitted by Quang Lee. Come on. I thought we were better than that. Be, original funny. Not same joke over and over funny. That's not funny. We had Ilya Topuria losing to Quang Lee. The issue here was he also cannot defend takedowns. So he was taken down early. That entire first round was gone. Once he got taken down, popped up a little bit, back down, that was the end of it. So the entire first round was gone. He spent the whole round on the ground trying to work his way up. Really couldn't. Second round, he comes out guns blazing. The appropriate thing to do, right? Letting his hands go, trying to make something happen. You know what? Fuck it. I lost that first round. I'm going to get it back now. And I appreciated it until he started kicking. You were just taken down. And after you got taken down, you couldn't do anything about it. So why would you then throw kicks? Because kicks can be caught and then you would be taken down again. But he threw kicks. It was like a high kick and it got caught in the air and just Gaston got thrown to the ground. Quang jumped on him, got it done. it's a tricky breakdown because Gaston is a striker, a high-level striker. He came in here and he was looking to strike. He tried to do his patented spinning back elbow, which didn't land. But it's just tough when these people come into the cage and can't defend takedowns. And I always get, Angelo, you favor wrestlers too much. Why do you favor wrestlers so much, Angelo? Well, wrestlers can control where the fight goes. If a wrestler is losing the striking exchanges, they can shoot a takedown. If a wrestler is winning the striking exchanges, they can keep the fight on their feet. They can decide where a fight is fought. Gaston Bolanos, very good striker, has no control over where the fight is fought because he can't get it to the ground if he needs to. He can't keep it on the feet if he needs to. He has no control whatsoever about where a fight goes, and that's going to be a problem. And honestly, the first 4 fights of this fight card, that was the problem because that's exactly what Marina Rodriguez dealt with. Could not keep the fight on the feet. And if she can't keep it on the feet, there was no way she was going to win. So, Gillian Robertson came forward, struck for a little longer than I thought she would, got the takedowns, and then just grinded. Worked. Ultimately got a TKO finish, not a sub finish, and that's fine, right? Marina Rodriguez is a very good, well-rounded fighter. She never really accomplished a title fight or a title or top 5 ranking, but she did fight some of the best women in the world. Her hands were very good, and even though she couldn't defend takedowns, her jiu-jitsu was good. So she didn't get subbed. She wasn't really in a position to get subbed. What she did, though, is get controlled on the ground, have her movement limited, and then just got TKO'd out. So, that is what it is. Marina retired on the spot. I don't know if it was planned or she was just like, yeah, fuck this, I'm done. She is old at 38. Gillian Robertson is interesting, though, because she continues to get these wins. She has the most amount of finishes in her division's history. I don't know if you knew that. And she just continues to win. But who is she beating? She beat Marina Rodriguez, a 38-year-old who can't defend takedowns, who just retired. Before that, Luana Pinheiro. Luana Pinheiro's record is atrocious, and she is not very good. Before that, Michelle Waterson, who also retired almost immediately after that fight. Actually, was it immediately after that fight? It was immediate. Michelle Waterson immediately retired after that fight. Before that, Polyana Viana. We just saw what she looked like last week. When she fought an actual good fighter in Tabitha Ricci, she lost. Before that, she beat Pereira Rodriguez. Not very good. Before that, fought a pretty well-rounded fighter in J.J. Aldrich. Lost. She beat Maria Agapova. Maria can't defend takedowns. Like, there's a theme here. Gillian Robertson hasn't beaten anybody any good. She has not beaten anybody any good. She just hasn't. She lost to Miranda Maverick. Like, she hasn't beaten anybody good. So the question becomes, is Gillian good, or is she just somehow getting some of the most favorable matchups in the UFC? And good for her. Good for her. People wanted to hate on Sean O'Malley when he said this, but he said, I get paid the same if I'm fighting somebody good or bad. I'll rather take the bad guy for the easy money. So good for Gillian, getting paid full checks to fight old women or people who can't defend takedowns. And in this case, both. I don't know what's next for her, but last time she fought somebody good, she lost. So hopefully for her, it's somebody else that can't defend takedowns, and she'll just quietly continue to build up this, resume as far as wins are concerned, and get some finishes and continue to separate herself from the pack with the most amount of finishes in her division. And now we have a real prospect. Azamat Bekoev. He smoked Ryan Loder. Smoked him. And Ryan came in aggressive. Ryan Loder's a guy that we hadn't really seen that aggression out of in the past, right? Division I All-American wrestler. We knew he could wrestle. He tried to wrestle here. He also threw hands. He moved forward. He got aggressive with the striking, tried to get the takedowns. Where normally he's a little hesitant. He'll back up. He'll wait for you to follow, and then he'll shoot. And he didn't do any of that. He came out guns blazing, tried to bring the fight to Azamat. And that, honestly, is probably the game plan. Just didn't matter here. It didn't matter at all because Azamat's hands were too good. The takedown defense was good. He didn't attempt any offensive takedowns. I will say, little credit to Ryan Loder's chin. Azamat cracked that dude's chin 15, 16, 17 times. Just lit that dude's chin up. He was landing clean. He was landing flush. Ryan was obviously out of sorts, and then he was trying to get himself together, bomb away. Like, it took a lot of shots to get this guy up to the point where Jacob was texting me. He's like, oh my God, Ryan Loder's going to Homer Simpson. And if you don't get that reference, there's a an episode of The Simpsons where Homer is fighting. I don't know if they ever said it was Mike Tyson or you just know it's Mike Tyson. And he just takes a wild abuse for 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds. Just wild abuse. He gets the shit kicked out of him. And then Mike Tyson gets tired. So Homer's like, dink. And that's it. And we're like, oh my God. Ryan is going to Homer Simpson Bekoev. He's going to get the absolute piss beaten out of him. And Bekoev is going to get exhausted chasing a finish. And that didn't happen, though. Bekoev got the finish. So the question is, how good is he? We know he's a good high-level wrestler. We know he's got power in his hands. He has 2 finishes in the UFC, both of them first-round finishes, both of them over decent prospects. Listen, I was about to say Ryan Loder's the Ultimate Fighter winner, but so is Juliana Miller, and she sucks. But Ryan Loder's a Division I All-American wrestler who also is the Ultimate Fighter winner. Zach Reese was a decent fighter. He smoked him, too. So Azamat Bekoev seems to be the real deal in a division that could probably use a little bit of juice. 185 has a couple of good matchups, but nothing too crazy. So let's get some fresh movement in here, get the people moving around. Let's shuffle up the rankings and see what we get next. But Azamat Bekoev looked absolutely fantastic in his last fight, now in this fight, and I'm curious to see what a fight looks like in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. But for now, we'll stick with these first-round finishes. And then we had one of the most obvious spots on this card. So I picked a bunch of underdogs on this card. I picked Yana Santos to win. I did not pick, a few of them. But I picked Yana Santos to win. I picked Daniel Rodriguez to win. And some of these were pretty obvious. The Yana Santos one was insanely obvious because the whole narrative coming out of me to you through this sultry voice. And actually, I'm a little tired. If you guys are like, where's the energy? It's 1 o'clock in the freaking morning. Those fights were not very exciting. It's hard to get gassed up. Plus, I golfed today. I met Josh and played some golf. I don't fucking golf. That's not my thing. But at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm driving to his house for golf. So, yeah, a little tired. Yana Santos got the juices flowing a little bit because, A, I had the over 2.5 in the safety parlay. And the first couple of minutes of the fight, I was like, I'm going to be sweating this over. I am going to be sweating this over. Luckily, it hit without really any problem whatsoever. But we had an interesting fight here because my whole narrative was Miesha Tate hasn't evolved. This sport has passed her by. Miesha Tate was always just an okay wrestler who was tough with okay hands. That's all she ever was. But she did well in a generation where people did not have okay takedown defense. And they didn't also have okay hands. She fought in a generation where if you were just tough and could get takedowns, you could win fights and become a world champion. And, I mean, she won her world championship by losing 3/4 of a fight and then pulling off a submission, but you get the point. Miesha Tate was good in the first generation, really, of high-level female fighters. We are now on the 2nd, maybe even 3rd generation of high-level female fighters. And I knew Miesha was going to look old and slow and just not be able to compete. And that's kind of what we had. What she did, though, is move forward and fight like a dog. Miesha Tate moved forward, was bombing away. The technique sucked and the punches were from a million miles away and the takedown sucked. But she was just moving forward, bombing away, trying to make something happen. And at one point, Yana was literally running backwards. And not out of fear, but just out of like, I'm keeping distance. Whoa, watch out. Throwing jabs, trying to keep her at the end of it. I knew Yana Santos was going to be the far better striker. And as long as Miesha didn't really get a real takedown, which she ended up getting one in the 3rd, but up until that point, had no success at all. Yana did what I thought she would do. Be bigger, stronger, faster in the striking. Takedowns won't matter because Miesha's takedowns are just mediocre, and that's it. Miesha should have retired. I mean, she's accomplished everything. She's had a great career. The problem is, I think there's a lot of money to just pass up. She's like still kind of a name. I will see what her salary was in a couple of days when it gets released, but I guarantee she made some pretty good money. And she does put on a show. In this fight, she tried to win this fight. She was bombing away, running forward. She just doesn't have the technique anymore because the sport passed her by. Yana Santos isn't somebody that I'm too worried about what's next for her because she's not going to do much in this division. But for this matchup specifically, it made no sense to me whatsoever that Yana Santos was an underdog. No sense whatsoever. Somebody called into the call-in show. Was like, are you worried? A lot of people are picking Miesha Tate by submission. And I was like, who? Tell me who. Tell me who's picking Miesha Tate. Actually, I don't know if they called in or if that was a comment. That might have been a comment. But I was like, tell me who. List 2 names. Fuck it. Give me 1 name who's saying that. No names. Nobody was saying that shit. Because it wasn't going to happen. Then we had this very fun fight. The main card opener was Mason Jones versus Jeremy Stephens. And this was a fun fight. Jeremy Stephens fights are always fun. Problem is, he can't win at this level anymore. He couldn't win at this level a few years ago when he got cut. But he's always in fun fights. You've never seen a boring Jeremy Stephens fight. And this was no different. He couldn't win. Wasn't even close to winning. And it was exciting. And I say wasn't close to winning. If you watch, you'll see Mason Jones's face a little fucked up. And that's because he's a pale Englishman who wears damage. The dude is see-through pale. Those aren't tattoos. Those are his bones. You can see through his skin. It is so white. So yeah, you flick him and he's bright red and swollen. So there was some damage on his face. Jeremy had a few decent punches, but this is a fist fight. To get out of a fist fight that goes 15 minutes entirely unscathed is literally impossible. So what we had here was Mason Jones, who was faster, who was cleaner, who had the better technique striking, and the grappling wasn't even remotely close. Jeremy, at this point in his career, can't defend takedowns, can't do shit on the ground other than make sure he doesn't get choked. But Mason was better everywhere. The problem was, and this caption says, all skill, no brains, because Mason was dominating. Then the tides turned a little bit. Jeremy Stephens landed a couple big ones, a couple clean ones. There was a few different combinations where I was like, motherfucker. But Mason continued that. He continued to engage in that kind of fight. It wasn't until the 3rd round where he might have been like, or his corner was like, we might be 1-1, that he full-blown went on the wrestling. At the end of the 1st, he has Jeremy down, almost has him choked out. At the end of the 2nd, he has Jeremy down, almost choked out. But how come after the 1st, when you knew you were able to get him down and had complete control on the ground, how come in the 2nd round, when Jeremy did have a little bit of success just bombing away crazy, did you engage the bombing away crazy? All you're doing is giving him an opportunity to win. That's all you're doing. So it wasn't the best fight IQ. It was a fun fight. But dude, this is your first fight back in the UFC. Like, you know this dude hits hard as shit. You know he's tough as hell. The guy's in the 3-0 in the bare knuckle, BKFC, bare knuckle fighting company championship. Anyway, he was 3-0. You know he's tough as hell. You've seen his fights. Yet you were like, yeah, I'll go toe-to-toe with this guy. So the skills, spectacular. He kept doing a beautiful left hook to the body. Like, Mason Jones looked unbelievable in this fight. I knew he would look unbelievable. When we bet on him, he was like minus, 300? The dude was minus 800 come fight night, and that's why having the app, getting the push notifications matter. For example, I placed the UFC Vegas 106 safety parlay tonight. That is 2 weeks away. But I got that safety parlay up on the board. I was finishing the graphics, and I was like, done. Bet. Bet it. Sent it. If you're premium, you know about it. Then we had a very annoying, frustrating fight to watch. We had Cameron Smotherman and Serhiy Sidey. I had a little bit of a bet, a small little bet, nothing big, on Cameron Smotherman plus 3.5. All he had to do was win 1 round, and it was juiced at minus 200. So the sports book, the general public, everybody thought, like, yeah, this dude will win 1 round, if not the whole fight. He didn't win a round. He won 1 round on 2 judges' scorecards, and then a 3rd judge said, no, not on my watch. I thought he won the 3rd. I thought Smotherman won the 3rd. It seemed like a fair 29-28 to me, but he definitely lost this fight. And when you watch this fight, everything in me wants to hate Serhiy Sidey, but he did mix it up really well. He did a really good job being long, because I said his only skill is long, which, my bad. So he did a good job just being long, being tall, using reach, using length, but also random takedowns. Like randomly, even though he was having success with a long jab, he would just shoot a takedown, get Cameron all fucked up. Because Cameron wasn't throwing his hands at all. Just gun shy, not letting his hands go. It wasn't until the 3rd round when his corner was like, you are losing, that he came out and like really let the hands go and tried the headhunt. The problem is when some of these people find this power, and when I say these people, I'm talking about people with giant 1-punch knockout power who have had success. When some of these people, and we usually see it with wrestlers who knock you out. Miles Johns had this problem for a few years. He was a good wrestler, knocked some people out, and then stopped wrestling. Only bombs, looking to knock people out. So some of these people that have the success with the big one-punch knockout power just chase the big one-punch knockout power. We had a little bit of that from Cameron. I couldn't tell if he was just sitting waiting for big power or because Serhiy was randomly shooting takedowns, he was a little confused and didn't know what to go. Right? Didn't know if I commit to this, is there a takedown? In the third round, he was bombing away, trying to find that power, but his corner, Adrian Yanez, said, "You're down. You're down rounds." It's hard for me to leave this fight and say Cameron's a fraud because you could see that there were moments of success. He has some skills. He just needs to let his hands go. I will say, it is always annoying. It is always lame. It is always stupid. It's always ridiculous that people give a fuck who you train with. They couldn't stop talking about, oh, he's got this guy in his corner. Ooh, he's got Diego Lopez in his corner. Ooh, who gives a shit? Those people can't fight for you. Garam walked out with Hamza and Ilya and Ilya's brother, and he got the fuck kicked out of him as a 5-1 favorite. Who gives a shit? Who your corner is doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Training partners don't matter half the time either. But the reality is, Cameron Smotherman has the techniques. He just needs to let his hands go. Sidey, listen, continues to get wins. This was the cleanest win he's had. The last two were not as clean. This is the cleanest win he's had. Good for him. The wrestling adjustments were beautiful. It was perfect, and I'm assuming that's why Cameron was so low volume. This was another interesting fight. I thought Daniel Marcos could, if not win this fight, at least win a round. And it was an interesting game plan from Daniel Marcos because he was shooting takedowns. And he had some takedowns. At one point in time, he picked Montel Jackson, clean up in the air, Matt Hughes style, slammed him down. But he faded. That's what was bizarre to me, was Daniel Marcos faded as the fight went on. And I thought Montel, a guy who we know has huge power, was just going to be sitting on big power. I thought he was going to sit on big power, just be winging punches, and that would give Daniel Marcos everything he needed to steal this fight. But that's not really what we had. We had Daniel Marcos pushing a wrestling game plan. The wrestling game plan exhausted him, and Montel Jackson was the one who never accepted a position. He got taken down, was pushing, was getting his hips out, butterfly guard, like never accepted bottom, never accepted positions on his feet, was letting his hands go. This was a great performance from Montel Jackson. Fights like that impress me more than knocking out Damon Blackshear in 20 seconds. Like, you have incredible power, and God has blessed you with that. Congratulations. But we don't know anything in a short one-punch knockout win other than you have one knockout power. But in this win, we know he still has the scramble skills. We know he can still wrestle. We know he has cardio. We know he's got some dog in him. We know he can scramble on the ground. Like, all these things we got to see in a full 15-minute fight that went everywhere were awesome. Montel Jackson is very good, and Daniel Marcos is like the 30th undefeated prospect in 2025 to lose. And I mentioned I got the safety parlay locked for UFC Vegas 106. I'll tell you right now, the main event's not in it. And thank God, Michael Morales is not in it. Michael Morales is undefeated, and it's 2025. He should win, but it has not been going well for those folks. And then we had another underdog winner that Big Ange picked. Daniel Rodriguez knocks out Ponzinibbio. I did a very uncharacteristic bet here. You know me, big, safe, conservative Ange. You usually get a 2-leg parlay out of me for the safety parlay. Another 2-leg parlay here and there. Right? If I like a bunch of fighters, I'll do little parlay, little parlay, little parlay, little parlay. No crazy prop bets. I'm not chasing. But on this fight, I was like, you know what? Both these dudes are a little worn out. They're both sloppy. I'm going to pick Daniel Rodriguez because he is the more durable of the two and the least sloppy, and his boxing is very good. Ponzinibbio at this point in his career is almost knocked out constantly. Like, yes, he knocked out Carlson Harris, but he was almost knocked out right before that. So I picked Daniel Rodriguez to win. I thought this was going to go to a decision. So the uncharacteristic bet for me was a plus 400 split decision. I don't care who was going to go to. I was like, this might be a sloppy back and forth slug fight with some success, some success, some success. One judge goes the other way, the other two go this direction, and I do a hit. I mean, I put fucking 0.1 units on it. So Big spender. Daniel Rodriguez looked pretty good, honestly. He looked clean. He was controlling the entire fight. There was almost no success on the Ponzinibbio side. So Rodriguez looked good. Hands were clean. Hands were fast. He had Ponzinibbio rocked early. He came back because he is durable. But by the time we got to the third round, that durability was gone. Took too many shots. Too big, too clean. This is a perfect picture. This is literally Ponzinibbio falling over after getting knocked out. This is a great picture here. And it took him a little while to get up. Like, he's old too. I think he's 39-ish, 38. He's almost knocked out all the time. He's been rocked constantly. Did just get knocked out. He's got to retire. He's got to retire. He is the Spanish broadcaster. For all the UFC broadcasts in Spanish, Ponzinibbio is doing the play-by-play. He's doing all those things. So Ponzinibbio needs to make sure he keeps his wits about him. He needs to keep the CTE at bay. Don't get you. We're good, dude. We're good. We appreciate what you did. Your fights are entertaining. We're good. Worry about the rest of your career. I don't know if you're married and have kids, but worry about the rest of your career. You don't need to. Do not head down the BJ Penn path. Do not head down the Tony Ferguson path. Like, it's it. You lost. Retire. Do the commentating stuff. Move on. Then we had the co-main event of the evening. And I'm going to say a really big upset, but it wasn't that big of an upset, honestly. It was a big upset, but Bo Nickal wasn't a huge favorite. And that was the narrative this whole week. Everybody kept saying this is the most affordable Bo will ever be. And I kept saying he's affordable for a reason. If you go back and watch our Tuesday live stream, it was me and Bet Sam. Jakey Boy wasn't there, so it was Bet Sam and I. And Bet Sam's like, oh, I don't see a world, blah, blah. I was like, dude, he is affordable for a reason. You are getting a discount on Bo Nickal because he has the toughest opponent he's ever had right in front of him. He's fighting a giant man who's got decent hands, who can wrestle, who has great jiu-jitsu, who has won multiple bets in multiple divisions. Like, this is the matchup for a reason. He's only minus 300 because this is a tough fucking fight. But everybody was just so attached to the fact it's Bo Nickal. It's, oh, the UFC. Those are the narratives that drive me nuts. It's usually out of the comment section. The whole, oh, the UFC, he's the UFC's boy. They need him to win. He'll win. Dude, that's not how fucking this, it's not how it works. And you saw that's not how it works. The UFC doesn't decide who wins. Maybe they'll give somebody a favorable matchup. But that once that cage door is closed, that's it. It's out of the UFC's hands. Even if you want to accuse the judges of being corrupt, the judges work for the government, not for the UFC. They work for the government. And yeah, government's corrupt, all that bullshit. But my point is, the UFC can't decide who wins or loses. It's not the WWE. So the two biggest narratives we saw this week were Bo Nickal is the most affordable he'll ever be, so jump on it now. We'll never see this price again. And then the UFC wants Bo to win, so he's going to win. And both of those are dumb bullshit, and hopefully you guys learned your lesson. I said all week I had 0 bets on Bo. I said I'm going to pick him because he is an American top team. He's a phenomenal wrestler, as we all know. We saw some hands. Like, I'm going to pick him because he's a proven winner, and he's had a great gym. But I will not bet on him, and you shouldn't either, because this is a really tough matchup. And if I lose out on these odds because I was a coward, fine. I'd rather regret a bet that I didn't place than regret a bet I did place. Because one is you lost money. The other is a fantasy world where you made money you didn't spend. So Bo Nickal did not win this fight. I do not think he's a fraud. All of the fraud checked me. It took 8 seconds. Fraud check, fraud check. Even Bet Sam, who bet him, was all over him. Sent me a DMM saying, I can't wait to watch the recap video to hear you go in on Bo Nickal. Why would I go in on Bo Nickal? The dude was 7-0. He was 7-0. He only had 7 fights in his career, fighting a guy with 20 fights, 21 fights. Why would I go? This guy had 3 times the amount of fights as him. Bo Nickal didn't do anything wrong. What did Bo Nickal do wrong in this fight? He made one mistake in the first round where he got a takedown and then he jumped guillotine or jumped on a choke and didn't quite have it, and Reinier ended up on top, won the scramble. Okay. But the second round is where he got finished. Maybe he could have gone all in the wrestling early, but Reinier is big. He's heavy. He came forward. He used that size. They were not afraid to wrestle Bo Nickal. And then ultimately, Bo got a nice little takedown, and then Ray's like, great. We're where I want to be. So Bo was kind of fucked no matter what, because when he decided to grapple Reinier, he ended up getting swept and was on his back in trouble. When he decided to strike with Reinier, he got finished. Big knees to the chest, big knees to the, one was here and then the other hit the shoulder, but by then he was done. So he was fucked either way. He wasn't winning this fight. He couldn't win on the feet, couldn't win on the ground, couldn't win in wrestling. And that's fine. That is fine. How many people get to be undefeated and retire undefeated? Khabib, who else? Even Islam got knocked out. So it's totally fine. I have no issues with Bo Nickal, what he did, how he performed. He is not a fraud. He's only had 7 fights. People hate that he's like a confident dude. When you've accomplished what he's accomplished, when you are quite literally one of the best to ever do it at your sport, yeah, you're going to be a little fucking confident. So I have no problem with Bo Nickal, his confidence, or the fact that he lost this fight. The praise should be going to RDR. I'm not going to say he out-wrestled Bo, but he wasn't afraid to wrestle Bo. He certainly out-grappled Bo. He certainly outstruck Bo. And he had every opportunity to really do something here, and he did all of the things. He did it all. He did it all. So congrats to RDR. He called out Sean Strickland. I'll watch it. He beat Sean Strickland too. I'll watch it. And that's actually a good matchup because Sean's got decent enough takedown defense, and Sean's blind forward pressure, if that comes back after the abysmal performance in his last fight. If Sean just blindly walks forward, throwing a million punches, it'll be interesting to see how RDR deals with it. RDR has 2 losses on his record. It's to one person. And it was just somebody he couldn't take down that was a very good striker who was a giant human being. Very curious to see what happens next for RDR. And Bo Nickal, totally fine. He was reasonable about his career before this because they asked him, oh, if you win here, what do you... He's like, I'm not ready for a title fight yet. I need a couple more wins. So even assuming he was going to win this, he wasn't, he knew he needed more. So I'm totally fine with giving Bo and, not Kevin Holland, because anybody who can take down Kevin Holland will beat Kevin Holland, but let's give Bo people well outside the top 15. He doesn't need to be there yet. There's no rush. The dude's young. He's learning. There is no rush. And finally, we had the main event of the evening. I'm going with this picture. And the caption says not a fluke, because you might argue it was a fluke because the old lady in the shoe is standing over Divas and Figueiredo. And if you watch the fight, you would know that they were in a whole bunch of leg lock situations. It was a 50-50 situation, some weird scrambles. And in one of those scrambles, Figgy's knee just went sideways. And that was the end of it. But Corey Sandhagen was winning the entire fight, start to finish. Didn't go very long, but Corey Sandhagen was winning the whole thing. The striking exchanges looked good. The grabbing exchanges looked good. Every now and then, Figgy would have some fake ass. Wouldn't even have like a heel hook or a knee bar. He wouldn't even have a submission locked in, but he would have the leg tight or the ankle tight. And it's just like, ooh, something here. Ooh. And Corey would just hit his face a couple times, weird scramble, hit his face a couple times, weird scramble. There were times where it looked like this freak injury type situation were going to happen to Corey, where his leg was like trapped and his knee looked like it was bending sideways. I texted Jacob. I was like, this guy has rubber knees. And Jacob couldn't wait. Oh, no. He trains with Ryan Hall. So no. No. He's training with the best leg locker on the planet. Ultimately, we all thought this was going to happen, right? Corey was in my parlay. Corey was in Jacob's parlay. Corey was in a Betsam parlay that broke before that happened. Corey was in everything. The same narrative I had for Miesha Tate, I basically had for Divas and Figueiredo. The sport's passing these people by. Divas and Figueiredo had a couple moments, but for the most part, Divas and Figueiredo was like, I'm going to wrestle. Had a takedown, immediately was back up, didn't matter anymore. And then after that was just kind of chasing power. Corey Sandhagen is very good. He's the real deal. I don't know if he'll ever be champion. He might be a number 2 or 3 in the world kind of guy. Divas and Figueiredo took him down, and obviously he popped right back up. But if Figgy took you down, and if you were worried about 5 rounds of cardio, Corey literally said I had to control and adjust my training to make sure I could go 5 rounds. Almost as if he wasn't sure. Who's he going to fight for a title that it's not going to matter? I think they should do Corey Sandhagen. We're only a couple of weeks away. Only a couple of weeks away from Merab, Sean O'Malley 2. I don't even want to see that fight. Who gives a shit? I think Merab runs through him the same way he did last time, if not worse. So we're only a couple weeks away from that. I think Corey should fight Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley will lose. Then he fights Corey. Sean hasn't fought anybody, really. Split decision against Petr Yan that he didn't really deserve. Then what? Beat Aljo, fair and square, knocked him out. Fine. Totally fine. I think Corey Sandhagen should fight Sean O'Malley, who will lose to Merab. And then we'll see what we got at the top after that. Overall, pretty straightforward fight card outside of a couple of wild upsets with Reinier. Montel Jackson took an O away from somebody, but he was the favorite. So this fight card wasn't amazing, but there were some interesting plot lines that came out of it. And if you guys want to get ready for the next fight card for UFC 315, download the app, go to the website. Every pick, every bet, every tool, everything is up, ready to go. On the website right now, we have 11 units of bets for UFC 315. I personally placed 2 different parlays today just for UFC 315. Check out every single one of those picks, bets, and tools, the latest tools, the tape index. If you like to do your own research, go to tools in the menu, click tape index. Every fighter on the card will be there. Select the fighter you want, select the card you want. It's built out for the future. You'll see their whole fight history. And if there's a little red play button, you click it and you can watch their fight. We have a brand new DraftKings optimizer that will build lineups for you. A fight simulator that will simulate fights for you. A data analyzer where you can stack filters, add data points, remove data points, and do your deep dive research with whatever data that you want to. We have a line movement tracker, which will give you opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every fighter on every card. A prop hunter, a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets on every card. And we have more than just me. We have a whole handful of analysts breaking down UFC cards as well as regional cards. Bet Sam's UFC showing wasn't very good, but he had a great PFL showing. He put 2 bets on the board for PFL. Both of them hit. Both of those were great bets. The premium offering is quite literally the greatest in this space. There's nothing remotely close. Go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top, unlock all of it. If you hate it, hit cancel, never to be seen again. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know if you thought this was a good card. Maybe I'm just tired from golf. It just didn't feel like a very fun card. Pretty low energy, despite the fans. Those fans showed up early for the prelims. They were ready to go. That arena was packed, and the fights just weren't that good. Curious, maybe it was just me. I'm in a mood. Maybe it was all of us. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments. And tomorrow morning, UFC 315 video will be filmed and released.